I am here with singer, actor, voice artist, RJ Woessner. Um, Got a smile that melts hearts and a voice that reaches into your soul and grabs you. So let's talk a little bit about your beginnings and when you decided you wanted to pursue, well, actually everything that you're pursuing, not just music. I know you went to college for music.
Yeah. First of all, nice to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you
for
too.
the interview. Yeah, my beginnings. I got into music and acting in high school, and I ended up quitting soccer. I played soccer for like 13 years. I had a great choir teacher, voice teacher. I learned piano. I started taking music theory in high school, and then things started clicking, and I realized, I have a knack for this. And I knew that I loved performing. I knew that I loved music and acting, so I kind of got my feelers out there to kind of figure out where I wanted to end up. And I wound up at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up writing in an interesting kind of caveat to this show. I wrote an original a cappella piece for an statewide Indiana arts competition, and I ended up winning the whole thing. And it was like the second song I'd ever written, so I was like, okay, I definitely should study music. So that was kind of the genesis of, I guess, my musical start. But yeah, I went to Berklee College of Music, and then I moved to New York in 2010 when I graduated from college, and I pretty much was looking to see what would stick, because I was like, okay, I have several talents that I'm good at, but I don't quite know where I fit. It was like post-recession, so I worked at a record label briefly. I worked at a music and sound design company doing audio and post-production, dub. I was like an intern, basically. And I learned a lot there. That was about, 6 or 7 months. I worked at my uncle's coffee shop that he had in Greenwich Village. I was working, I did a bunch of jobs. I worked at
So you got the survival jobs out of the way first.
Yeah, right out of the gate, I was like, okay. But thankfully, I had a lot of my hands in a lot of pots to kind of start, which was good. And I ended up working at a music and arts event company where I worked with Broadway performers and conductors and composers and actors and musicians. And while I was there, I started training at a voiceover studio, and voiceover ended up kind of kickstarting everything. I got into commercials, TV, film, kind of through that. And I have a home studio in my apartment. So basically for like 4 or 5 years, I was just nose to the grindstone, auditioning for everything, making music. I wrote a couple, I was actually a film score briefly as well for a web series and for some short films, which was kind of cool getting to hear my music on a big screen at a film festival, the Big Apple Film Festival.
Yeah, I can imagine. When did you first find your voice though and realize, hey, I have a good voice, I can probably make a career in this?
Wow.
Was it in college or was it way before that?
As far as make a career out of it, I don't know. A part of me thinks that honestly it was like middle school when I realized that I had a gift and that people reacted. That was when I realized, okay, maybe I have something.
Yeah.
But like anything, it takes time to like build at a craft and really make something of your gift. But I would probably say in college was when I realized, okay, I can definitely see myself in this industry professionally.
And when you were in college, did you have a fallback major or minor in case music didn't work out?
No, Berklee's a contemporary music school. It's a liberal arts school, so that you're technically getting a liberal arts degree. But no, I got a degree in contemporary writing and production with voice as my principal instrument. But I took piano and guitar and all that, and so it was essentially a writing and production degree, because I didn't want to be like one of those singers who can't read music, who can't write a chart, who can't communicate with musicians. So I knew if I was going to be in New York or LA, I needed to understand the language well enough to talk with horn player or a drummer, and basically get their respect and be able to dictate what my ideas are on the paper and communicate with them in a professional setting.
When you're not touring, are you bi-coastal or are you based now in California or New York?
So I lived in New York for 8 years, and I just moved to LA actually. And it was kind of serendipitous because I booked this job like a month before, or 2 months before I was moving. So it's kind of weird because I've not had to grind yet in LA.
Yeah.
So I still kind of feel like I live in New York in a weird way because I haven't fully adapted to the LA scene.
Mm-hmm.
But
Nothing
but
like being on
technically now-
tour and paying rent for some place you just moved to.
Yes,
So you
exactly.
barely
That's
aren't
exactly
even,
what I'm
but you're
going
barely
through
even
right now.
used to being in it, let alone paying for it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely still bi-coastal. I have my agency, Innovative Artists, is on both coasts. And yeah, I'm pretty much going back. I'm in New York once every like 4 months or so for gigs. I sing, there's like a jingle company in New Jersey that I work with a lot, and then a voiceover production company in Manhattan that I work with a lot, so yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about D Cappella. When did you you auditioned for the group, obviously, with a ton of other people, and they chose 7. How long did you have to wait until you found out that you were one of those 7? Did you keep getting narrowed down into smaller groups, or was it just big group 7?
Yeah, so D Cappella was originally put together by Deke Sharon, who did the Sing Off on NBC. He did the Pitch Perfect trilogy, and he worked in conjunction with Disney Music Group to make this group. And initially, they kind of had like a Broadway idea of what they wanted this to be. So they went through Telsey and Company, the big New York Broadway casting company.
Right.
And they did pretty much a nationwide search online, and they required you to upload a video submission, basically singing a couple Disney songs and then discussing what Disney means to you, and then doing everything vocally that you can do. And that was pretty much the precursor to get a callback in either New York or LA. And so they had 1,500 people. They whittled it down through 3 callbacks. The final callback was in LA. And the crazy thing is that when we flew out, they were like, okay, so you're here, and congratulations, you're in the group, and you're recording the album. Oh, today. So we hadn't even heard each other or even known each other when we went into the studio. So we were recording with a MIDI track, which is basically just piano and then just your voice. So we were basically sight reading the music the same day-ish for some of the pieces, but some of the other songs we'd only known for like a week and a half.
And that's crazy because you almost don't have a chemistry with each other yet.
No.
At that point.
And honestly, Brian, the album sounds completely different. It sounds like a completely different version of what you'll see tonight in the show. So we've evolved a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I know you've gotten to tour a lot around the country, and you're also, it was announced, going to Japan.
Yep.
You've been overseas yourself, have you not?
Yeah.
Already?
Yeah.
What's that experience like, traveling overseas to tour versus doing it here in the States?
Wow. Well, I was fortunate enough to perform in Taiwan and
Taiwan. In case anybody's wondering where that is.
Taiwan. Actually, crazily enough,
RJ's about to tell you exactly where that is.
Oh my, yeah. It's weird because it's funny that I do that because in China, they basically, you can't say that Taiwan is its own country. You have to say that you've been on, like, to mainland China and to Taiwan, which is overseas. Yeah, the politics of that are interesting. But I've been to both of those countries. And
to the little-known third country.
And to
Taiwan.
Which not many people know.
Breaking news.
Yes.
RJ is the mayor or the president of Taiwan.
So that way, the fans over there are so hardcore, and I don't think they get a lot of Western and American talent to come to some of these cities. So it's kind of a big deal when they have people from the United States going over there. And
so you're like a Beatle, pretty much, when you go over there.
Kind of. I mean, especially in Japan, I hear that the Japanese fans are kind of in their own echelon. But
I believe they greet you at the airport with like lines of people.
Yeah.
From what I understand. So
yes.
That'll be interesting.
They're very gracious and very respectful and very much. I mean, especially Disney music. It was kind of ironic that I had done a previous a cappella tour that Deke Sharon had done the music for, and then I did a Disney orchestral tour with. Originally, it was the Evergreen Symphony Orchestra in Taipei, and I went all over Taiwan, and I was singing, all these Disney classics, and then this show is pretty much the combination of the two of those. But yeah, Asia's amazing. It's really especially China. I think China is becoming a thing. I think more talent are going to end up over there at some point. It's just a little tricky right now with the politics of it, but.
And you're a very main part of D Cappella, but you've also done backup for bigger artists. What was that like, being in the background and seeing everything from a different perspective?
Definitely. I was very lucky to kind of get linked into the pipeline with my vocal coach in New York, who was a vocal contractor. So through that, I got to perform on The Late Show with David Letterman and SNL, and a couple other kind of other gigs. But I was singing with Bastille, the English rock band. So that was very humbling because that job pretty much comes out of nowhere. You know, it's almost all through referral to get a gig like that. It's you look right, and the person who's referring you can attest to your talent, and you show up, and it's like bang, boom, boom. They expect you to be able to have a really strong ear and pick up on things and just be cool. That's pretty much it. It's like be cool, know your stuff, and be on time.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. But I love work like that because you're pretty much just getting paid to learn from the pros. You know.
Now that you've had a springboard to even more exposure being with D Cappella, would you like to put out your own solo album?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's one of my next kind of projects that I have on my docket, so to speak. I want to release an EP. I have quite a bit of music that I've been developing over, I don't know, the last like 5 years, and they're all in like voice notes on my phone. And it's about time I deconstruct it, work with a producer, and get it online.
What genre of music would it fall into?
I would say it has pop, jazz, kind of adult contemporary kind of vibes, I guess you would say. But it's pop. It's pretty much pop music.
Can you see yourself being like the next pin-up heartthrob for
You
for
know,
the pop world? You have the.
I might be too old now to be like.
I don't think
pin-up.
that they would not. They don't know that. They don't know your age. Don't give it away.
No, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I always try to leave a door open, you know, for any possibility. But it's kind of like with this. I'm not with Disney. It's such a dream to get to do this music and affect people and see that it's affecting people who are 80 years old and people who are, you know, young children. And it's a different kind of nostalgia for each of them, and different songs from different generations. Like my generation's more Aladdin, Lion King, Toy Story,
Right.
and now the next generation it's Moana and Coco and Big Hero 6, and you know, just being a part of that lineage of Disney is, you know, the possibility of opening other doors is definitely there. So I'm all about being open to whatever comes next.
Plus, these fans can actually grow with you as your career grows. They're actually growing, so
Exactly.
it'll be nice to have them follow you from place to place. You guys do meet and greets before the show. What are some of the things that stand out for you that people have said to you?
You know, the big thing that they say is they're like, "Do you guys actually love each other? Because you have such good chemistry. Like, how long have you known each other? And you know, is there any drama? Everyone's concerned
Everybody wants the
with the
drama.
family dynamic. You know?
Yeah.
And like any band, you know, it's hard to stay together, you know, for so long, because eventually people get on your nerves. But thankfully, for the year and change that we've been a group, it's been pretty miraculous. Like, they did a really good job of putting together people who are not divas, people who are extremely talented, professional, and, you know, up for the task. So
Especially that none of you knew each other. It's one thing if you went out on the road with friends for a year
well,
and a half.
technically, and if you know, there are a couple of us in the group who, like Orlando and I, actually went to Berkeley and graduated the same year, coincidentally.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
we actually did a gig together, but we weren't like in the same friend group. So it was pretty crazy to see his name on the callback list.
Yeah.
When I was like, that has to be the Orlando Dixon I went to school with.
That's funny.
It was. So technically, and then there's Shelly and Joe know each other through a gig in LA randomly. But yeah.
What do you like best about touring?
Touring, it's my favorite thing about touring. Well, it's nice to have a steady gig for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, and get to kind of see a direct impact on audiences, and get to have consistent gigs, you know, and get to entertain the masses and see the country. Antonio in our group always says it's kind of like it's the best opportunity to kind of see where do I want to settle after everything. You know, it's like you get to kind of see all these cities, and it's kind of like scouting for where you want to be, which is kind of an interesting outlook. But yeah, I mean, I love to travel. I love to see the world and you know, meet people and see the impact of, you know, that art has on communities and on people.
You focused primarily, it seems, on your vocal career. Would you like to get more into acting, or are you pretty much gonna,
So yeah, I'm nowadays it's like I feel like most most artists kind of have to be a multi-hyphenate. They have to kind of be an actor, singer, dancer, voiceover artist, producer, director, writer, you name it. So I always try to keep that in mind. But it's kind of interesting how your career ebbs and flows. From year to year, my main thing might be, believe it or not, for 2.5 years, I was a motion capture performer at an animation company. So I would wear a suit with markers, with like 53 markers all over my body. And I got to be Chester the Cheetah for like Cheetos commercials.
Yeah.
Which is it's wild how like that was my main gig for like 2.5 years. And then other years it was voiceover, other years it was music, and now it's being in a touring Disney group. So yes, to answer your question, yes, in a roundabout way, I do see myself doing more acting, especially living in LA. But you kind of have to ride whatever wave you're on. So right now it's the music a cappella stage thing.
When you were in New York, and I guess to a limited extent you could do this in LA, were you interested in doing Broadway and that kind of?
Definitely. I think I was not quite ready. I don't know if it was that I don't think I had the confidence in myself in my early 20s, honestly. And it's the theater community in New York is very intense.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of desperation, and there's a vibe when I would go to auditions. And not being in equity, I would have to go to open calls. Like now I'm in equity through SAG, so I can pretty much get an express pass to get seen. But at the time, I think I was in a weird spot where I didn't have quite the credits that I needed for how I look, for the parts that I needed, and I wasn't quite old enough. I didn't quite have the confidence, so I kind of fell in that spot where like I couldn't quite get my foot in the door for the shows that I really wanted to be in. But yeah, now I think it's different. Now I think it's different. I think now I have more of an edge, and I'm more prepared, I would say.
Especially with the advent of these musicals that they're adapting for television. Hopefully they'll continue. I know Rent was just on and it didn't do quite as well as they were hoping.
I love Rent.
That was leading into my next question. I could really see you as a Roger, especially with your voice, but I would assume you could probably pull off Mark too.
Yeah, both those characters I would love to do.
And with a little manscaping angel, maybe.
Manscaping, indeed. Yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, I love doing theater. I did quite a bit of kind of off Broadway in New York, at like the New York Fringe Festival and like the New York Musical Theater. Was it several other kind of Midtown International something? I did a lot of those kind of local New York, brand new acts. New musicals, doing a lot of world premieres of newer works, but yeah, Broadway I think is in the cards, but it was not always at the forefront, because a lot of people who are in New York definitely are like, that's what they want, that's all that they want, and a part of me was like, that's not all that I want, that's not all that I am.
Right.
So I didn't put all my eggs in that basket, so to speak.
Yeah, I could definitely see you as a Roger.
I would.
No
love
offense
to
to
do
Brendan,
that show.
he did a very nice job, but
yeah, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did. Yeah, there were certain people who needed to be recast.
That's what I hear.
in the middle of the show, they should have been.
Didn't they just cancel the next upcoming
they did,
NBC broadcast?
Because of how low rated it was. It was a tricky situation with Rent because it's so beloved and has such a community of like Rent heads, as they're called, and for it to not be up to what it should have been was.
Yeah, I mean, I got introduced to Rent through the film, which people are like, you haven't seen it on stage, and like, I loved the film.
Oh, it's not.
And so
it's nowhere near
I'm way overdue to see the stage.
Yeah. There's plenty of bootlegs floating.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think I've watched a couple bootlegs of the original cast closing night.
Yeah.
On Broadway, but
we don't advocate bootlegs. We don't want to see any.
Yeah, no bootlegs. No bootlegs, please.
So, how much longer do you have on the D Cappella tour?
So we're about a third of the way through. So March 18th is our last show. So it's Valentine's Day today. So about a month and 4 days-ish. So.
What are you going to do after that? Are you going to take a little bit of a break? And
take a little respite?
Yeah.
Yeah, so April, pretty much, just to catch up on everything. Pay my taxes.
Move into your new place in California.
Exactly.
See that it actually exists. It's not just something you're paying for.
Exactly. And then pretty much May on, we're doing a Disney cruise vacation cruise from San Diego to Vancouver.
Well, that should be
And
terrible.
we're going to be like the main
Yeah.
act in the main theater, which is really special,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
cool. And then, yeah, pretty much just prep for Japan. We're potentially going to Japan 3 times this year, which is wild. And I might be going back to China for more orchestral gigs later in the year as well. So I have a lot of travel
You
coming
do have a
up.
lot of trouble.
But
Glad I
it's
got you
all
now.
good things.
Glad I got you
gigs.
now.
I know. It's all good things. It's good to be working. It's good to be busy.
Yeah. What would you like to say to the D Cappella fans and your fans in general?
Oh, well, yeah, thanks for being along for my journey, and thank you for all of our D Cappella fans. We're very humbled by all the opportunities that we've had thus far. We performed at the Hollywood Bowl, American Idol, and we've been on the Incredibles 2 soundtrack. We have a Japanese album coming out, and those songs of us singing in Japanese will be online on all the platforms, which is really cool. And no, I'm just I feel very privileged to be in the Disney family and get to do what I love and have an impact and inspire the next generation of artists and singers and just people. Like Disney is love, Disney is magic. So, I'm very grateful, and I'm excited for what the future has in store.
Very nice. And to quote Maureen, during Angel's funeral, spoiler alert, we're the lucky ones. So
Yes,
we're very
we are the
fortunate
lucky
to see you share your talents with the world. So thank you so much for taking the time in between your busy days of promo and everything else to meet with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
1, 2, 3. Yes, we don't have to pass. Yeah.
So what's your favorite Disney song?
Busted. He doesn't have one. Everything is his favorite.
Right, favorite Disney movie.
How are you doing? Good. Yeah? Everything's good.